welcome to this edition of Transformation Thursday. As always, we are excited and we're grateful that you have thought it good to hang out with us as we share a thought with you. Today, I want to talk to you about pivoting. One of my favorite series is to watch Reacher. Jack Reacher, whose character is played by Alan Ritchson, who is a former U.S. military police major with extensive investigative and combat experience, who now lives as a drifter traveling from town to town across the United States, crossing paths with dangerous criminals and bringing them to justice. The show has gained a significant following, most notably a following from ultra-conservatives. But most recently, the main character, Alan, has come under fire for his remarks concerning former President Trump and the Catholic Church. He tells us that he is a devout Christian, and he has taken issue with members of the church who have lifted up the former president and failed to hold the Catholic Church accountable. As I have caught glimpses of negative comments made towards him, I couldn't help but zero in on his comment. He said in the past, he worried that his outspokenness about Christians' beliefs would turn Hollywood away. But today he says, I'm a Christian quite simply because of what Jesus calls us to do. He said, he calls us to love other people until death. It doesn't mean that we're all to be hung on the cross, but how can I suffer for you? He goes on to state that this is a beautiful thing. He, in essence, has reached a point of pivot. Pivot can mean to turn or to twist. And in business, it describes the process of changing direction when the current strategy is no longer working. As I considered his story, I couldn't help but wonder why. Why would he put himself through all of this? His show is critically acclaimed. It is well watched by audiences of all types. The showing is going into its third season. And why would he put himself through this? Why would he put himself through the criticism that will come? And why would he put himself directly in the line of fire? And why would he put himself in this uncomfortable place? Why? Because he needed to pivot. Esther is in a similar place. By all accounts, she has made it. She endured the loss of both of her parents. Her people have been in captivity most of her life. She grew up in an obscure province, was raised by her cousin, and now she has been moved from an obscurity of the province to the palace, from being orphaned to being a queen, from being raised by her cousin to being catered to and served. In all respects, she has made it. Despite her troubled past, she has made it. Despite the losses, the failures, the heartaches, the pains, she has made it. And at 14 years old, she has endured a lot, but now she is comfortable. Now the tables have turned and she is in the king's palace. She is Queen Esther. But there's an issue. Her cousin is now standing at the king's gate in sackcloth and ashes. A ruling has gone forth that all the Jews are to be destroyed, and he sends word to her of the impending danger, but she is reluctant. There's a potential danger in his request. She is comfortable. She has made it. And her cousin would again send word saying, don't think that you will escape because you are in the palace. Because if you hold your peace, if you don't participate, in other words, he said, if you don't pivot and change direction, God has a way of pushing us into pivoting. The stuff that you are dealing with could be because he is trying to get you to pivot and change direction. The hell that you have been experiencing, the trouble that you have had to endure, the pains you are carrying could be him preparing you for such a time as this. And you are being positioned for such a time of this. You're being positioned to remove the shackles from somebody else's feet. You're being positioned to be a voice for the voiceless. You are being positioned to bring your family out. You are being positioned to break generational curses. You are being positioned to be the first in your family, the first doctor, the first lawyer, the first judge, the first college graduate, the first millionaire. Esther had a past that would have destroyed others. What have you dealt with? What have you experienced that would have taken other people out? But God has prepared you for such a time as this. He has positioned you to pivot. I love to read, but sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I read what I call the margins. And so what this simply means is that I read the introduction, I read the subtitles, and then the conclusion. In doing so, I get the gist of the story. I get the high points. There are a lot of details that are written in the body. There are some ups and some downs in the body. There's some highs and there's some lows. But what I've come to realize is that God often works in the margin. He knows your beginning from your ending. He knows how your story will end. Despite how bad it looks and despite how troubled things have been, the victory belongs to you. You've already won. He works in the margin. Many have been counted out because of how they started. But the people that counted them out didn't realize that God was working in the margins, turning your ashes into beauty. But there's a danger in not pivoting. There's a danger in not changing direction. There's a danger in missing the opportunity. What is the danger? First, if we read the story of Esther, there's a danger because you can be destroyed. In other words, you can die without purpose. If you are not in purpose, you are simply existing and not living. Purposeless lives have no real meaning. Again, if you are not in purpose, you are simply existing and not living. In addition to that, there's lost legacy. Proverbs chapter 13 will suggest to us that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. When you do not pivot, you forego generational blessings for generational curses. Finally, when you do not pivot, you miss the opportunity to add value to someone else's life. And what I've come to realize is that opportunities missed are simply opportunities that someone else takes advantage of. So how do you pivot? Esther gives us some examples. First of all, you need to be humble, because it's not about what you have. It's not about how you look, but it's about how you carry yourself and how you treat other people. The other thing is obedience. She obeyed everything her cousin told her. Your gifts put you in position, but humility and obedience gives you favor. All of the other girls were beautiful, but only one became queen. Only one had favor. Only one wore the crown, because favor can do what beauty and riches can't do. Favor opens doors. Favor causes those that don't even know you to bless you. Your gift can get you the interview, but only favor gets you the job. The last thing is boldness, because pivoting will require you to be bold. You have to be willing to embrace the moment. Esther would go on to say that if I die, then I die. If I die living my purpose, my life was worth living. Because I would rather die in purpose than to die outside of my purpose. Last month, and at the beginning of this month, we watched March Madness play out. One of the things that I love about March Madness is that anything can happen. The most unlikely can be thrust into the limelight, into position to take the big shot. And some are bold enough to take it, but some won't. And so the question for all of us becomes, what will you do when it's your moment? What will you do when it's your moment? Don't miss the opportunity to pivot. And so today, on this Transformation Thursday, I want you to affirm with me. Affirm that I will embrace the moment. Affirm that I will live in purpose and on purpose. Affirm that I will leave a legacy. Affirm that I won't miss my opportunity. I will hit. See you next week on Transformation Thursday.